maybe you're still tired from the weekend and that it's after work. So again, thank you a lot for coming. Sometimes I have the bad habit of not speaking to the microphone, so please, if I do that, interrupt me and say, hey, we cannot hear you. Can you just put the microphone closer to your mouth? All right, I'll dive in straight away. And again, I want to say something at the beginning that is interrupt me whenever you want to. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I don't want to speak to you for 40 minutes straight away without any interruptions. I want us to think together about this problem that I'm going to present to you. And if you have some nice ideas, or if you want to tell me, hey, by the way, we see that you haven't tested this, and I think that it's a great idea and maybe it's going to work better for your project, just please raise your hands. If I don't see you, shout and tell me, hey, I have something to say. I want to hear you share your ideas, and I'm sure that all the rest of you want to hear you as well. So uh, this thing is working. The pointer is working. The changing slides is not working though, so I'm going to be walking back and forth towards the keyboard. I hope this doesn't get you dizzy. And let's start. So what is my problem? I want to read text from images, and the images are very specific images. At the moment, I live in Portugal, so this is written in Portuguese. And this is the back of a food package. Yeah, I think these are some crackers, salty, healthy crackers. And this is the ingredient list where you have the fat, the sugar, the fiber, proteins in grams in this particular product. And what I want to do is have this image and get data like this. I just want to read how much fat and added sugar and fiber that there is in this product. And I was thinking, okay, that doesn't look that bad. I think I can do it. And as soon as I started digging into the problem, I saw that it's more challenging than I expected it to be. And I'm going to tell you why it is. But at the beginning, I'm going to start with who I am and why I do that. Because I just didn't wake up one day deciding, oh, I want to work on image processing and I want to work with images. So I recently started my own business. It's called Sugarwise. And what we want to do is make people healthy by helping them choose better food products. And we realized that our health depends on the food that we consume, and we don't need to become vegan or vegetarian to be healthy. And we just need a little bit of help to choose the better food product. Imagine you're in the supermarket and you want to buy some cereals for you or for your kids, and you just choose the brands based on whether you have seen some advertisement on the TV or whether someone has recommended this to you, but you don't really realize how this product is going to affect your body. If we get information about the nutrients from it, like what I showed you on the previous slide, like this, then we can easily, Sugarwise can easily tell you, okay, we think that this product is not going to be very healthy for you because of this and this and this reason. How about you try eating this? So we started with a social project that we want to implement and give to society so that we really help people not get sick and not get sick with terrible diseases like cancer and diabetes type 2 and heart disease. And we decided to use technology because we believe that technology helps us solve our social problems. So, written over there as well, I'm a social entrepreneur. I want to solve social problems, and my background is in IT, so I want to use technology to do that. And I'm also a huge machine learning enthusiast. I'm a self-taught machine learner. I didn't study that at the university. I started with Coursera. I think it was Andrew Ng's course. If someone is interested in machine learning, this course because it's very nice. It's explained in a simple way, and he goes deeper into the algorithms. So let's go on. I told you already about what. Oops, wrong arrow. Told you already what Sugarwise is, but at the end of the day, what we want to do is people go shopping in the grocery store and Sugarwise returns to the screen something like this. Okay, this yogurt that you're going to eat has too much added sugar And if you click somewhere there, maybe it's going to tell you why, because I'm not going to believe my mobile telling me, don't eat this. Why should I not this? Why should I not eat this? So we want to tell you why and then suggest something else. So that's the goal. How do? Sure, tell me. Wonderful, wonderful question. So I'm going to say that again because I don't know if you all heard it. If we scan the barcode, can we get this data? And isn't there a food database that contains all the nutritional information for all the foods that we want to see? Yes, there is a database, or there are databases that contain nutritional information, and the key is the barcode of the product. And no, it's not going to work well in Europe or in Asia or in Australia because the databases are usually covering the US market, and they cover something like 20% of the products that you can find on the grocery. Exactly. They don't cover all of the products. And the thing is, when we're in the supermarket, the we have the information in our hands. We just cannot read it, and we cannot understand how it relates to our bodies. So we're thinking, okay, we have it, it's in our hand. What can we do to get this information? And someone said, image processing. Just try to read the text from the image. We said, okay, it's not going to be a very easy project, but let's give it a go. So the problem is we have something like this in different languages. We can cover 52 languages, understand where this part is in the image, and get the information. And here I chose this image, and that's why it's in Portuguese and not in Bulgarian, for example, because it's a very challenging image. If you check it out there over there, what we want to do is read the text. But the text has different colors, so we cannot just apply simple logic and decide, okay, so this is fat, try to read fat and read that it's 14 grams, because if we assume that all the background is white, then we cannot read all of these letters. So quick info about OCR, that is Optical Character Recognition. Okay. I keep on pressing the wrong button. So what we have open source and available to everyone to download is something called Tesseract. That's the GitHub repo that you can get it. So Tesseract is an open source OCR engine. OCR is optical character recognition, and this is actually the algorithm that reads text from images. So this thing reads from 52 languages, and it's available to download for everyone. But the catch is that the models for these languages are trained on images like this. So Tesseract usually reads images that are either document scans or books, so you have a very clear distinction between text and the background. And usually the background is very pale and very fair, almost white background, and letters are black or dark gray. So in this case, it's super, super, super easy to read the text from here. But in our case, I'll show you the image once again. Oh, we have too much color, we have too many things happening over there, we have some tables here that usually we don't see on the books of on scanned books. So we need to find a way to pre-process this image so that we put it in a format Tesseract runs. And the format is this one. We want every letter that we want to read to be black or very, very dark, and we want everything else to go in the background and be white. Is that okay with everyone? So far, so clear, so good. No one. So, does anyone have complaints? Oh, only me. Okay, good, good. Right, and I keep on mistaking the buttons. I'm sorry, guys. So first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of all of the colors, and we want to have a grayscale image from the colored one. And can someone tell me why do we want to do that? To do that? Why do we have an incentive to work with grayscale images, so losing all of the colors instead of keeping all of the colors? smaller search space and edge detection. Okay, why is it a smaller search space? Okay, edge detection. I'm not quite sure how well we can detect edges on grayscale images compared to the colored ones. I haven't tried it. I don't know if your answer is correct or not, but when we have colored images, we usually have, they're represented in three different matrices that keep the colors for the red values of the pixels, for the green values of the pixels, and for the blue values of the pixels. So instead of working with one matrix that is, in this case, it's something like 600 to 800 pixels, we need to work with three different matrices, and we need to work with more data. It gets more complex, so we decide, okay, we don't care about the colors, turn it to grayscale. Everything is now in one matrix, in 2D matrix, so it's easier for us to work with. In this case, all of the experiments I have done are done in Python, and I use nothing complicated. I use a imaging library that's called PIL. It's the standard imaging library. It's not difficult to work with, and it doesn't implement very, very difficult algorithms. It's just for processing images. So let's go on. As I told you at the beginning, we want to arrive to an image that looks something like this. We want to have a binarized image, so only black and white, and we want everything that we want to read to be black, and everything that we don't care about to be white. Any ideas how we make this happen? Sorry? Thresholding. Okay. Okay, so how can we threshold that to get into this image? Do you want to give it a go again? Okay, so two guys, two exact same answers. Find the medium pixel value and decide, okay, everything that is below that value, go to black because the 0 is the black, and everything that is above this value, make it to white because 255 is the white color. I've tried that and it doesn't work amazingly well, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. But at the beginning, I decided to show you the actual solution that worked. Oh, and also here, if you check this out, we have some black lines and stuff that we need to get rid of. But we're going to think of it on later stage. We take some baby steps. Yeah, a question over there. Yeah. Okay, so check. I don't understand what you suggest is going to work. What he suggested is invert the colors, whether when you have regions that are black or white instead of white and black, and then do the thresholding. So don't forget that we don't have this image. We have this image, so we don't have pure black and pure white. We have tons of different colors here. I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what he suggested is try to recognize that this thing is dark background and white lettering, invert the colors, and get something similar to this. So all the letters are grayer than before. I haven't tried that, but it's a nice idea. It's worth investigating. So what I did at the end of the day is I tried to cluster the colors. So this is our original image, and what we have is we have mainly white colors, so dark or light gray colors, and then darker colors here. So if we build the histogram of the pixel values of this image, we're going to get something like this. So 0 is the is black, 255 is white. So we're going to have roughly two big clusters of pixel colors, and one of the clusters is going to represent the darker, possibly how do you call it? Possibly letter colors, and the other one is going to represent the pixel colors that are going to represent the background. So we're going to try to do something like this, but not exactly like that. Oh, and also note that the pictures are not perfect. So in this case here, the 10, the picture hasn't gotten it quite well. So we can read that that's a 10, but the computers cannot read that that's a 10. So that's a problem I'm going to point out to you on a later stage. So how do we get the colors? We're going to do k-means clustering. Who here knows what k-means clustering? Okay, a lot of people. Who doesn't know what k-means clustering? Should I go into that? Everyone knows. Some of you didn't raise your hands. Okay, so in k-means clustering, what we have is a group of dots. In our case, it's going to be the pixel values, and we're going to try to cluster them in two groups. So identifying, let's say, the red ones are going to be our black colors, black pixels, and the blue ones are going to be our white pixels. So they're not black and white on the image itself, but we're going to simplify that, saying if you're in the black cluster, regardless of your value, you're turning black, so 0. If you're in the white cluster, your value is turning white. And also, that's not the clustering output of the image that I showed you. That's an image from Wikipedia. If you're wondering what's going on and why are we working in the 2D and not in the 1D space. Okay, so what I found out that it works quite nicely is that instead of working with the whole image, because it's nearly 500,000 pixels, it's better if we work with small parts of the image that we call windows. And in this case, we discovered that working with windows of 40 by 40 pixels works quite nicely. So this is our full image and our first window. So this window here looks like this. And when I start showing you the experiments, I'm going to show you first on the first windows so that you have an idea on how it works, and then we're going to show it on the whole image. So in our case, our clustering algorithm, I told you, if you're assigned to the black cluster, you should turn to 0. If you're assigned to the white cluster, you should turn to 255. And in our case, that's our first window. The clustering algorithm says, I think that, oh, I forgot to say something very, very, very important. Okay, let me turn back. So here, in this case, we make a very, very strong assumption. And this assumption works well for images like this, but I'm not quite sure if it's going to work for some other images. And what is that regardless of the window size, you can also see the whole image as one window, is that our first most dominant color is the background, and our second most dominant color is the lettering. And if you see, we have different regions of the image, and in this case, in this region, first most dominant color is the background color, so gray, and then second most dominant color is the lettering color, that is the black one. And this applies also here, regardless of what are the pixel values, because in this window, we have second most dominant color that is slightly paler. And in this window, second most dominant color is slightly darker. So regardless of what the original image says, doing the clustering on the pixel values is going to turn all the letterings that we want into black. So yeah, it's a good question. What if the window happens to be this one? So you have a lot of differences. So you have some dark colors from here and some white colors from here. I haven't seen it happen already. Usually what happens is, yeah, they overlap, but you have mainly dark colors and then a little bit of white colors. So it's okay, but it's a very, very valid point. So our first window, Second most dominant color is 154, and this is our grayscale colors. And if we say 154, it's somewhere near here, and it kind of looks like this is the second most dominant color that should be this thing. So first most dominant color, the background. Second most dominant color is this thing, but it's going to cluster also this one. So I'm going to show you the first window with binarized colors, so only black and white colors. And that's what happens. I didn't put the borders, but you can see that everything that used to be very dark and it was supposed to be the background, now it's white. And everything we want to point to stand out, it's black. And in this case, that's not a letter, that's just a line from the table. We're going to get rid of it in a while. Oh, one thing that I needed to learn the hard way, and I'm sure that if someone has studied images before, you know that for sure. What's the difference between PNG and JPG? I was always saving my results when I was doing the experiments as JPG images, and I was thinking, wow, that's amazing, everything is binarized. And at some point I zoomed in. So that's the first window again, but it's zoomed, and you can see that there is a lot of noise here. So I was thinking that the background should be completely white by now, but it's not. And I was wondering, what the hell? I mean, it's just clustering. It should say 1 or 0, 1 or 0. That should not happen. And the reason for that is JPG is a lossy compression format. So as soon as you save something as JPG, it keeps the pixel values close to the original, but not exactly as the original. So my error at the beginning was saving everything as JPG, then having picture windows like this that were very, very noisy, and then wondering what did I wrong at the end. So after clustering for the colors in each window, so I was using two clusters. So tell me what's the most dominant color, and tell me what's the second most dominant color, and turn the second most dominant color in black, turn the first most dominant color in white. We have from this picture. That's quite nice, and it's very readable. It's still JPG, so there are some dots over there. Don't freak out. I just didn't have the time to run this and save the images like as they should be. And I decided to run it through Tesseract and see, is that enough for me to stop experimenting with image pre-processing here and start reading the text using the models that Tesseract had trained already, or is it not enough? And it turned out that it's not enough. And the first time I ran the OCR, so reading text from images thing, I got this result. I got the result from everything that was written here and nothing from the side to the right. And I was wondering what the hell, what's going on? And it turned out that Tesseract is trained in a way that recognizes, you know, when you have a book and it's open and the middle of the book is quite dark, so this looks like a page ending. So it completely confuses Tesseract and it says, okay, I read here, that's the end of my line, I start reading the next line. Cheers. And so in this case, we have some noisy image. We still have some lines over here and over there and here. For example, the clustering algorithm didn't work out well because you see that the line is black and then it turns white. So there is some error in this approach. And also over here, that thing should have been reversed. But now what we need to do is we need to detect the lines. And we need to get rid of the lines so that Tesseract starts reading like this and finishes reading when the actual image finishes and not when the first line is introduced. So any ideas on how we detect lines? If someone from you is in image processing, you should have an answer for that already. Sorry? They go, I couldn't hear him, but I suppose it was a joke. Exactly, the half transform. Any other answers? Because it's not only the half transform that gets rid of the lines. Sorry? I don't know what's that, but I trust you. Um, so what you usually have, and in Python you have it in OpenSV, that stands for Open Computer Vision, is the half transform that recognizes where the lines in images, and it can work on any image. This one is already quite simplified, but if you give an image to half transform that has a grid like a fence, it's going to recognize that this is a fence. The catch here is that lines are usually with the same width, and they don't change that much. And in our case, what the clustering algorithm has done is it had changed the lines, so it had made them fattier, like in Bulgarian it's trapez. I don't know how it is in English. Trapeze. Okay, so something like this. So in this case, half transform doesn't work because the lines are not lines per se, and also sometimes they're interrupted here with white, and that confuses half transform. So here again we had a problem. We needed to identify these type of lines that we have, and we needed to hack this away because we couldn't use what we already had implemented by the research guys. So we started following some approaches. Hmm. Sorry, my mistake. I had mixed out how the slide follows. So we're not in line identification. We're still in the clustering, and that was the thresholding approach that I call sloppy approach here because at least in the code I wrote, it was really, really not amazing. So if you want to identify where the letters are and where the background is, these two guys over here. What is your name? Emil. And what's your name? No, who suggested the thresholding? You suggested the thresholding before? Who suggested it? So Emil and Dimitar suggested get the vector of pixel values, get the middle one, and decide, okay, everything underneath this middle one turns into black, and everything above this middle one turns into white. And that was my first assumption as well, so I tried it right away. It's super easy to implement, but it didn't work out for some reasons that are the colors in this grayscale image are very, very close to each other. So sometimes you think that this is, so when you really hard code the threshold like this, it's not not very versatile, how do you call it? It's not very flexible, and I'm going to show you why exactly. So that's the results of the thresholding approach. So it kind of gets all the letters right, and that's great, but it has some these weird, I don't know how to call that, these weird grids or spots on the images. So when you introduce an image like this to Tesseract, it reads nothing. It's like, oh my God, what's going on here? I just, no, sorry. That's not written in a language I don't understand. I understand. And just to compare it to the clustering approach, so that's cluster the colors and try to get second most dominant color to turn black. And this is the thresholding approach, and you can see the difference. The clustering approach also is not amazing because it has black stuff like the lines here that should not be there, but it's more readable. Wouldn't clustering work better? Um, I don't know. So the question was, wouldn't clustering work better if we keep the colors, the original colors, and not turn them into black and white? But the thing is, we want to have the letters stand out very easily. And if we keep the colors, maybe we can have for a window, we can have two different clusters, but the colors, so the centroids of these clusters might be too close. So it's not going to be, I don't know, that's, okay. So there might be some problems, there might not be. Yeah, there might not be problems. We don't know because we haven't tested it, but great idea. Oh, no, sorry. So what we need to do now is the line detection. And I'm going to show you a couple of of experiments that I've done, and at the end, with a huge help from my friends, we managed to succeed. So this is the third time I'm giving this talk. And the reason I started speaking about that was because I was really, really stuck on the line identification thing, and I didn't know how to go on. So what I did is I live in Lisbon now, and I'm co-organizing a data science meetup. What we did there is we organized two different meetups with people just like you to help us figure out a way on how to approach this. So I'm going to show you what we've been trying to do before, and then I'm going to show you the solution that came from a member of our meetup. So from someone just like you, we were sitting after work. We didn't have beers in this case. We were having some tea, and then we managed to identify the solution to the problem. So what we started thinking is, okay, should we work on Windows again with 40 by 40 pixels, or should we work on the full image? Should we try to work maybe with Windows and then get rid of everything that is more than 400 pixels? But that's a little bit hard coding, too much hard coding for my liking, because we know that for most images, the letters, each single letter is less than 400 pixels, but that's a very strong assumption, and we don't have a really stable ground on why it's like this and whether it's going to work well on different types of images. What we try to do as well is remove uninterrupted black blobs or black lines. So when you look at the lines, you see that they're uninterrupted. And even though it has a little bit of white inside, it's still connected. So we're like, okay, if we find something that is really, really, really black, and there is nothing in between that is white, we should get rid of it, because the letters, they usually have, like the 0 has some white inside, the G has white inside, the 5 is not a completely uninterrupted region. So I tried this as well. It didn't work out well, but it worked better than just getting rid of the 400 pixel things. And give me your suggestions. How are you going to approach this problem? You need to identify these lines, and you see that they're lines, but you need to find a way for the computer to identify that. How are you going to do it? No suggestions, or you're just shy? You're not shy because you were already speaking. So, is there something that we're missing here, for example? I told you we've tried to identify uninterrupted big regions, and we just tried to identify pure big regions. But are we missing something? And so we could see it, and we're not using this information. No, we're not. We're missing nothing. Nice, job done. My talk is finished. We can just go and grab a beer. So, what I'm going to tell you what we're missing in a while, because first I want to follow these two approaches that didn't work to show you the results from that, and then I'm going to tell you what we were missing. And I was missing for 2 weeks. I was really, really stuck on that thing. So that's the remove black regions that are greater than 400 pixels. This is the original image, the binarized image after clustering. This is the image after removing the big regions. Oh my God, it works so poorly. We cannot work with this because half of the text is gone. If you're thinking, oh, but we can just reduce the threshold and say, get rid of everything that is less than 300 pixels, doesn't work, then it still keeps the lines and it's not amazingly well cleared. If you're curious, just do it at home yourselves. So this is with the uninterrupted big things. So our reasoning was, that's the first window, and that's the matrix, and it's already processed in a way that shows regions. So everything that is background is 0 for clarity. Just disregard the fact that 0 is black at the moment. Try to identify regions like this that have maybe a couple of 0 pixels in between, like there is a 0 here, but there are not that many 0 pixels in the middle of the block, big blobs. That's how it works. So it works kind of okay. I'm quite sure that I have a bug in the code because these things should have been removed, because this is perfectly clear. Then this is why is it not cleared? But it still doesn't work well, and it still cuts out the letters and the numbers, and that's the essence of the images, and we cannot afford to lose that information. So the way we tackle that, and the way what we're missing to see in these images, is that we know, okay, so the problem with these images is we need to get rid of the vertical lines because Tesseract thinks that's a page, and so it stops reading on that place. Stop thinking about removing everything that is black and that is noise. Think about removing what's really stopping you from proceeding. What was stopping us in this case were the lines. I don't know about you. I studied math in school, and then I studied math in high school. Sorry, at the university. So it didn't come very easy to me. But since we know that we're trying to identify lines, and that's a line here. So that's the first window again. So here we have a line, and here we have this separate blob. Just try to get the black pixels on the bottom of the matrix, and this matrix is 40 by 40 window. Try to get the black pixels at the bottom. Try to get pixels in the middle so that they're not at the end, and try to imagine the line between these pixels. So try to combine them. And in this case, it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to oscillate a little bit. And try to see on this imaginary line that we just drew, how many pixels are black. If most of the pixels are black, we know, okay, this is a line, so just get rid of it. So in this case, we used what we know as humans. We're trying to identify lines, and then we went back to high school and we're thinking, so how do you construct a line? You need the two dots, and then you do the ax plus b equals y, and that's your solution. So that's how we managed to get rid of the lines with just simple logic of looking at the images and not trying to do something super intelligent or super research oriented. And that's how it worked. So it still keeps the vertical lines. We don't remove any vertical lines, but it almost perfectly removes it keeps the horizontal lines, but it almost perfectly removes the vertical lines, and that's all it took. So, but binary image, it's still noisy, but Tesseract can read it, and now it reads it quite okay. So it was a success, but we couldn't make it by ourselves. We needed people like you to help us. Tell us, stop, think about really your problem, and just go back to high school and think, how do you identify lines? Another cool thing that isn't tested, but a professor from the university told us on our last meetup, was try to use Fourier analysis. Do you know what's Fourier analysis? Any one of you? 2, 3 people. Ooh. So I'm still not familiar with Fourier analysis myself, so if I say something wrong, just please correct me. It is a way to analyze data to find, how do you call it? To find frequencies, exactly, frequencies. And people usually use it when they're trying to analyze some music or some voice recording, because the voices and the music, they usually have the frequencies, and you know that it's, how do you call that? It's the sound wave. Yeah, I'm not quite I'm not quite good in this. So he said, okay, you have this line, and what happens if instead of working with this matrix, you just flatten it? So instead of a matrix, you have one big vector of values. In this case, this line should be represented by some pings in your data, like this. The black pixels of this line should be kind of on the same distance from each other on the flattened matrix. Maybe not exactly the same distance, and sometimes the lines get thicker, so it's not going to be just one pixel, but a group of pixels. But still, when you flatten this matrix and when you look for frequencies, the lines are going to do something like this. And that's something super cool. I think it's very smart. I haven't tried it. We are going to test it out. And that's it. And I think I'm almost at the end of my talk. I think I have just two bonus materials. If I don't have two bonus materials, I really don't know where my slides. But you excuse me, of course, for that. Oh, bonus materials, cool. So what we were thinking about doing is that here we lose some black pixels within the numbers and within the letters. And that's a problem from the clustering algorithm here on the 9 as well and on the 5. And Tesseract fails to read some of these things. It reads something, but it reads nonsense. And we were thinking, okay, how can we fill in these letters? How can we make them black so that we really have all the text is black and that we can perfectly read that? We were thinking, okay, just try to enlarge the black area. And what we did was we used min filter again with the Python PU library. It's over here. And what it does is it sees a black pixel and it makes the 3 black pixels next to it black. So it kind of really makes the black regions fatter. So that's the result. It looks kind of okay. It has filled in all of the holes that we could see in the letters. But now these letters are too fat and Tesseract cannot read that. So that was not the way to go, but it was worth investigating. And the last thing, so completely disregard this image in the moment. I'm just going to speak about skeletons because I found it super, super cool. What people do sometimes is they have a bee and they just want to find the skeleton of the bee because the bee might be too fat or the bee might have been written in different fonts that are difficult to recognize. But if you just get the skeleton or the vital part of the bee, it's always going to look almost the same, right? So if you call, I think it was pu.skeleton or something like this, if you want to get the skeleton of the bee, that's how it looks like. And we're thinking, okay, maybe we can try to find the skeletons of the letters from the previous slide. So skeletons of letters like this that have something missing in the middle and fill in everything that is around the skeleton. And that's the result when we call skeletons on the whole image. This thing is completely wrong, and what you're looking at is the skeleton of the white parts and not the skeleton of the black parts. So we were not expecting this, and we don't know how skeleton algorithms work, so we cannot code it at the moment. But what we were trying to do was completely not useless, but I mean, we wanted to fill in the black parts, and with this, we can fill in the white parts and make them even larger. And that's not what we want to do, because we're going to lose the text. And the final touch of the presentation. So we're still having this problem with the letters and the white parts in the letters. Again, these 5, because maybe most of you can see it. If you cannot see it, this is a 5, but it has some white pixels in between. So you can see the outline of the 5, but in the middle it's white, and Tesseract doesn't read that. And at the beginning we were thinking, oh, that's cool. I mean, just see everything that is, see the frame of the letters and fill everything in the middle. But sometimes when you zoom in the image, I don't have I don't have an image like this, but when you zoom it in, sometimes you see that the frame is not full. So if that's the 5, sometimes it doesn't close. So you cannot find fully framed letters. Did I make myself understood? I'm not quite sure. That's a little bit difficult for me to explain it. In any case, we couldn't just find the frame so that we make everything black in the middle. And we had some suggestions on how to tackle this problem. 2 suggestions, they're both connected to the clustering algorithm because that's what this happens on the clustering stage. One is try to cluster more, try to have more than 2 clusters. So instead of having a cluster for black and having a cluster for white, try experimenting with a couple more clusters like black, and gray, and white, or 4 or 5. So that's one suggestion. The other suggestion was identify the cluster so the centroids at the beginning, set them to the precise black, so 0, and the precise white, 255, and don't point them at random as what usually k-means does. So we're going to try to test this out. But does any one of you have any suggestions? So what we're trying to do is fill in these gaps over here at the G and the 5. So forget about the 10 because the 10 is not well seen on the initial photo as well, so we cannot work with that. But just filling in these gaps. I'm not going to ask you to shout it out now. So if you have any suggestions on how to fix that, please find me after the talk and tell me, hey, I think that this is worth investigating, or your approach with clusters is completely ridiculous. Why do you even do it in the first place? You should do this and this and this. You agree? Oh, we're already going to have one conversation over here. That's it, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And thanks a lot for listening to me, and thanks a lot for still being awake. Oh, questions? Do you have questions? I completely forgot about that. If you don't want to ask now, you can ask me in private later. Oh, 2 questions. Woohoo! Wait. I'm going to give you the microphone so people listen.
Okay, first, thank you for a nice talk. And I have 2 questions. How do you manage the skewing of the image when it's and then the next question, have you ever tried the autos method for thresholding, for local thresholding?
Right, autos method for thresholding. No, haven't tried it. I'm going to write it down and try it. Not tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm traveling, but the day after tomorrow, because I'm really interested in this. First question was, what was it? Sorry. Yeah. So what do you do? So I told you, you go to the supermarket and take a photo of the ingredient list of this thing. But what do you do when the image is not taken correctly? Sometimes when you binarize it, or I'm going to show you in the text, in the document that was the image of a book. In here, for example, the image is not taken perfectly. So this thing, it's almost unreadable. And the skewing is this part in here. So whenever you want to binarize the image, this thing that is very, very light gray might turn into a big black blob and cut off some of your image. At the moment, we don't handle it. And I don't know if we're going to be able to handle it ever, or we're just going to ask people, please be careful when you take the photos. One thing that we cannot fight for sure is when you have some plastic transparent wrap around the label. So for example, when you buy tea, you know this thing that you have on top of the tea or on top of cigarettes? This thing, if you take a photo of it when you're in a supermarket and there are some lights on top of you, the photo usually captures the reflection of the light of this packaging, so all of the text underneath is completely lost. I'm not quite sure how we're going to tackle it and whether we're going to be able to do something about it. Also, Coca-Cola cans, they are very difficult. So they're shiny, so they can get the reflection from the lights, and we're usually buying things in supermarkets, so there are a lot of lights in the supermarkets. So they are shiny and they're also round. So that's also a difficult problem. How do you kind of flatten the image before you start reading?
Thank you. Do you plan to use some templates for recognition of different drinks, different food, and so on?
Thanks for the question and the suggestion. I haven't thought about that. Maybe after that you can tell me how we can design the templates and for what we can use them. You had a question or not? Oh.
All right, it's still about this sort of scaling. So it's a 2-part thing. Have you ever tried PCA to actually rotate it so that at least the frame is upright? This is the first one. And the second one is, you don't actually have to recognize every single letter, right? I mean, you have a very reduced set of letters that you need to guess. Have you tried to sort of recognize the inner part just by a cascade or something, and then try to recognize only numbers?
So that's a super, super valid question. And yes, we've tried. What was the first question? I haven't tried it. But PCA, yeah. No, I haven't even thought about that. So it's a good thing that you're here now and that you listen to the talk. Second question, why don't you try to recognize only the numbers, knowing that, so usually when you have tables with ingredients in Europe, they're regulated by the European Commission, so it usually follows as this energy, fat, and you have sugar, salt, and protein, so they're mainly in the same order. Sometimes, so if we're in Europe, yeah, that works. If we're not in Europe, no, it doesn't work. And on some packagings, I'll show you in a bit. I am on some packaging, so they're too small. So you cannot have the nice table that is very easy to get information from. You have the ingredients list, and there you can have tons of different letters. So the set of letters is not restricted as in here. And also what we want to try to do is identify all the E's, like E additives, and bring to the user back, is that good for you or not good if you consume that? Because some of them, they're completely harmless, so we should not be afraid of that. But especially, at least me, when I'm in the supermarket, I don't know what the E additives mean, so I assume that all are bad for me. But they're not all bad. So we're also aiming at recognizing these information. In this case, it's slightly easier than this because there is not a play of colors like this. So you know, okay, that's the second most dominant color. Just these are the letters that you need to read, and they follow. It's just a paragraph of text. It's easier to read that than the tables. Answer your question. Okay, you.
So can you say something about the dataset that you've gathered to test your algorithms?
Oh, that's such an uncomfortable question. Of course I can say so. Me, I'm 28, and my brother, that is 17. We had a trip to a lot of supermarkets, so we have a data set that covers a little bit of Bulgarian products and a lot of Portuguese products, because at some point I was sick in Portugal, so I couldn't think, but I could walk and go to the supermarket and take photos. So the data set is completely manually collected. I know that it's not scalable, and I know that it's not the best way to do it, but we didn't find a better way. If you have some suggestions on where we can find images like this, on which we can test our algorithms and experiments on that, please feel free to share. We'll be grateful. We're around 1,000 at the moment. Yeah. Well, that's what we have. So we start small. At some point, we're going to release the app, and people are going to start taking photos. So we're going to have helpers collecting images for us as well. Any more questions? That's a great question. At the moment, we haven't worked on detecting it. What we usually do is take the photos like this so that the table is in the corner. Or so you have mainly two ways of presenting this. So you usually have either the ingredients to the sides and the table in the left upper corner, or the ingredients are top of the table. In both cases, we put the top left corner starts from where we want to read. And usually it's easy enough for you to adjust your phone in comparison to the product so that you can take a photo like this.
So the second one is, have you tried to get rid of Tesseract and do those by yourself? For example, by searching for letters S in one of the Andrew Ng's lectures in the end of the course.
That's a brilliant suggestion, by the way. Have you tried to recognize only letters? And letter recognition is taught in the course that I just mentioned to you. Haven't tried, might be worth trying. what was the first one? To get rid of Tesseract. At the moment, well, it's not we in this case. In this case, it's my preference, my personal preference, and I'm kind of enforcing it. Is I would like to keep on using Tesseract because it has models that are trained for 52 languages. So for us, it's going to be easier to scale. If we don't have Tesseract, we need to train engines for each different language, or in the case we just try to recognize the letters. We haven't even thought about that. But with letters, it's better because we have a finite set of letters, so it's not going to be so difficult. We'll try. Thanks a lot.
If you do the OCR by yourself, you can try use NLTK because it has a lot of. No, it does not, but it has language models or some kind of bigrams, trigrams, and so on.
Oh yeah, NLTK. I haven't used that thing since I was in the university, but it's a good suggestion.
How many months do you have for this project?
Until it works. So at the beginning, we're going to release the application without the image processing thing. So this is more like a research project. It can easily be done as someone's doctoral thesis. We do it because it's fun and it's interesting, and we see the potential of actually recognizing the text from images. At the end of the day, I don't know if this is going to work out or not. And I don't know when we're going to draw the line and say, okay, we're not going to experiment with image processing anymore. We're going to work with a barcode, so we're going to completely drop this out and think of another way. More questions? It's okay. Clusters on what? I see what you mean. How okay, I haven't. Yeah. Okay. No, we haven't thought of that. Okay. Okay. Well, I know. It's the. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, okay. I don't know about this method, so that's why we haven't thought of that. Thanks a lot for the suggestion. It's brilliant, and I hope it works. And I believe you that when you say it works. Yeah, of course. Nothing is just download and start using it solution.
Have you tried Google Goals? I'm not sure if it could work for this case, but have you tried it? It's image recognition stuff.
Well, we haven't tried Google Goals, and when we're looking for some image recognition libraries on the internet, I didn't find this. And we started working on this at the beginning of October. So we're quite fresh in image processing, and it's still, I told you, baby steps, but I hope that at some point we're going to arrive at some point. So spectral clustering, Google Goals, and not a method. Nice feedback. More questions? Or is it time for beers now, or whatever you want to drink? Sure.
excuse me. I didn't heard your approach to solve the problem with the foggy letters, the last parts. And I wanted to ask you, did you try mathematical morphological filters to solve this problem? I mean, for example, opening filter, what could give, I think it should close some small dots. I just asking if you tried mathematical morphology for.
Okay. So have we tried mathematical morphological filters? Did I understand you correctly? No, we haven't, because we haven't heard of that. We'll write it down. Thanks a lot. And also, you didn't hear the approach that we're following on filling in the letters. You could not have heard it because we still don't have a solution for that. So thanks a lot for giving us an idea on where we can go. So I'm going to pass the mic to Sergey now.
Okay, so first of all, yeah, thank you again. Yeah. Oh, and I think that the discussions here were very beneficial, especially for her research. Also, something else we uploaded in a Facebook. We just put a link for the feedback because we changed the place. Just curious, what is your feeling about? Do we need to go in the different halls or somewhere in the universities or here in the bar? And something else probably which we forgot to mention, that if any of you wants to share something or have some or is struggling with a particular issue, particular case, so come speak with me or with someone, I mean, Mila, Angel, or whoever, just that you have a case who you are willing to share. And our idea is that not big meetups, probably 20, 30, 40 people. It's a good case where we can have more informal talks, where people with more knowledge and expertise can share and learn from each other. And thank you again, and thank you. Yeah, choose the opportunity to drink a beer and speak with the others.